This is the 2024 Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. It comes as a larger capacity offering than the Himalayan 411, but is it any good? Let's find out. So the main new big thing here is the engine. It's the Sherpa 450. It's a 451cc single cylinder and it cranks out about 40 horsepower and around 40 Newton meters of torque, which puts it in a good stead in the A2 category. Out on the road, the engine is quite lively. Low down, it does sort of have that big 125 feeling like most single cylinders, but as soon as you wind it up, you can really start to feel the power. It's got a 6-speed gearbox, and even at that top end, it still has some solid pulling power. In 6th gear, you can really crank it on and you still feel that power. The acceleration is sprightly from the get-go. You need to wind it up before you really start feeling that torque and power kick in. But low speed handling is not an issue and it's really accessible as well. So up front, we've got a 320mm single disc with a 2-piston caliper, and on the rear we've got a 270mm disc with a single piston caliper. It's got ABS, which is switchable, which is a nice touch, especially if you're looking to do some off-roading. The brakes themselves do feel really good out on the road. The ABS does intrude when you really crunch on, but it's going to bring you to that nice safe stop that you need it to. You do get a bit of dive on the front forks when you crank the front brake on, but you don't feel wallowy, you don't feel like you're losing the front end. It does just feel really planted. So suspension comes in the form of Showa upside down forks on the front. Now they are non-adjustable. They feel really good, but I suppose if you're doing that off-road, on-road thing, you might want to have that adjustability, but as they come out of the factory, they feel pretty solid. As I said before, you do get some dive on the front end if you crank the front brake on, but otherwise it feels like it's soaking up all the lumps and bumps. You've got a preload adjustable monoshock on the rear, so if you fancy going 2 up, or if you are a little bit on the heavier side, it shouldn't be an issue. But I suppose if you're looking at this bike as being an adventurer and off-roader, you are sacrificing some of that adjustability where some competitors may have it. So it's got a 17-litre fuel tank and it sort of claims around 80 miles per gallon, so you should be getting onto that sort of 250 to 300 mile range. In our experience of using it, it's sort of been sitting around the 65 to 70 miles per gallon mark. If you're being sensible, you should go a long way. So whilst this is somewhat of an upgrade to the previous Himalayan 411, it is still on the heavy side. It's 181 kilograms dry and 196 kilograms wet with that full 17-litre tank filled up. It does feel heavy, especially in low speed stuff and when you're doing some manual handling, but when you are out on the road, that weight does disappear and it feels quite low down, so when you're in the corners, you don't feel like the top end's all over here. It's just planted exactly where you want it to be. For some, that heavier weight could be a plus, but if you're in the A2 market or you're maybe looking at downgrading coming from a higher capacity bike to this one, just be aware that it is on the heavier side of the market. So we've got spoked wheels, we've got a 21-inch wheel up front for that sort of off-road capability and a 17-inch rear wheel. Now they're running a 90 wide on the front and a 140 on the back, and whilst those numbers are sort of a bit thin, this bike is meant to be doing a bit of off-roading and a bit of on-road stuff, and on the road it has felt really solid. You know, on that 140 on the back, you can push it right to the edge and you don't feel like you're compromising. I think on the whole, the way they've set this bike up is sort of for the best of both worlds. It's got a new steel twin spar frame. That's going to shave a few pounds off of the previous Himalayan, but it's also been set up to be more comfortable when you're standing up. So if you are doing some trail riding or some light off-road stuff and you're spending a lot of time on the foot pegs standing up, it is super comfortable. The bars are nice and high and the foot pegs are positioned really low in the frame, so you can get sort of this commanding position over the bike and it feels great. The bars themselves are quite wide, as you'd imagine from this adventure sort of styled bike, and you do get a lot of input and control through the counter steering and just low speed stuff. You really feel like you've got a good turning circle there. So the standard seat height is 825mm and that is adjustable to 845mm. There is a low seat option available which is 810mm to 825mm, but we've got the adventure seat and that's around 200 quid extra, but it does feel comfortable. When I first got on it, it felt a bit weird in that you slide forwards. It's really quite slight in the middle, but I think it's to do with that sort of standing position. When you're standing up, you're not compromising in your thighs, you're getting no chafe, and it is a very comfortable seat. The wheelbase is 1,510mm and it's got 230mm of ground clearance, so should you be taking it off-road, you won't be bottoming out on any light stuff, but be wary if you're pushing on because I imagine you will be getting some scrapage on the bottom there. So it's got the 4-inch round TFT display and that shows all the things you need to see, your speed, your miles, your estimated range. It does actually have a shift up indicator, which is quite nice. It is only up, it doesn't go down as well. So when you're bogging along and it feels like you're too high in the RPM range, it will encourage you to shift up a gear so that you can get more miles out of the bike. It's got phone connectivity and it actually has built-in map navigation provided by Google Maps. I haven't been able to test it out today, but from the videos I've seen, it does look really good and intuitive. Probably one of the better turn-by-turn systems out there. So you have 4 rider modes in that TFT display, but they are performance with the ABS on, performance with the ABS off, eco with the ABS on, and eco with the ABS off. So realistically, engine-wise, you're getting 2 modes. You're getting performance and eco, but it's just with that switchable ABS. The eco mode does feel quite lackluster, but if you're using that, you're probably in a situation where you need to squeeze the most miles out of your tank, so it's an option for those who might need it. The performance mode is just full throttle. It's probably what you're going to be running most of the time, and it does the job well. So alongside the new styling, we've got new colorways for this year. We've got Casa Brown, Slate Himalayan Salt, Slate Poppy Blue, Haney Black, and Kamet White. They all do look really good, but I do question this decal here on the Kamet White. It sort of just makes it look like the paint is peeling away, but some people might like that rough and rugged look. But for me, I think all the colors look really good. If I was going to pick one for myself, it would probably be the Haney Black, but they all have varying price tags depending on which color you pick. Casa Brown is the cheapest, coming in at £5,750, and Kamet White is the top of the line, coming in around £6,300. So as you can probably tell just looking at the bike, this is covered in the Royal Enfield accessories. We've got the full luggage on the back here, that's close to £1,000 for all of that. We've got the engine guards, we've got the hand guards here, we've got the screen, which is the adventure screen, we've got this soft luggage, and we've got the protectors on the forks down there. All in, this is probably £2,000 over the market price. Or whether you're going to go aftermarket or commit to the Royal Enfield accessory packs, they do the job really well, they feel really solid, everything there, but it's whether you want to spend that extra nearly £2,000. On this Himalayan, they've moved the air intake to a higher position so that you can perform some of those river crossings that you see in all the B-roll of those mad off-road videos they do as promotional footage. So you can really commit to the adventure and get across those rivers as well. I haven't ridden the Himalayan 411, but I can tell you that this is a solid bike and I feel like it's a worthy successor to what was already quite an iconic machine. So if you're out there looking for an adventure Royal Enfield, this is probably the one for you. That's been my quick rundown on the new Himalayan 450 from Royal Enfield. If you want to check out my full review, be sure to head to the Inside Bikes blog page where you can check that out, and I'll catch you in the next one.